set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out.
Hello, Miami. Thank you so much for watching 305 Sports Now. I am your host, Will, and welcome to 305 Live. Now, I do have some bad news, okay? Unfortunately, Chalupa Batman got called into work last minute, so he will not be joining us for today. We'll be having him on sometime in the very, very, very near future. But I did promise you another host. He is a former defensive back for Ole Miss over in the SEC. He is a South Florida born and grown young man. I'm sorry, my words are off today. Forgive me, guys. But he is the host of the TY24 Sports Podcast. He is a friend of mine, Mr. Tyriek. Gracias. There we go. Hold on. There we go, StreamYard. Thank you. What's up, Tyriek? How you doing?
How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing just fine, man. Thank you so much for joining the show. Today's going to be a fun show because it's not just us speaking like we usually do. It's going to be also an audience participation type of format. So to let the viewers know at home, okay, we're basically going to be a small little interview with Tyriek. He's going to give us his background and so on, his playing time over at Ole Miss. And then we're going to break down the linebackers a little bit. Then around 9:30-ish, all right, I'm opening the floor for the audience, all right, for you guys to chime in. If you want, please look in the comment section. The StreamYard link should be there. Or if not, you can also find it on my X account as well at William Padron at 305 Sports Now. Okay? But the only thing I ask of all of you is just keep it clean, all right? You can ask whatever you want, just keep it clean. All right, Tyriek.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, man. You're South Florida. You're South Florida born and raised, but you went to Ole Miss. How did that happen?
Basically, I was originally at Monsignor Pace in Opelika, and then right prior to my senior year, I ended up transferring to American Senior High in Hialeah, and I graduated from there. And basically, it was a choice between going to West Virginia or going to Ole Miss. I was thinking West Virginia because this is like this is the early 2010s, late 2000s, because I actually had to sit out 09 when I graduated, so I was a freshman in 2010. So that was a whole thing where I was just around campus. But long story short, I went to Ole Miss because my stepfather, who pretty much raised me from a toddler, he was in the barbershop, and a lot of guys were telling him SEC is the new wave, which they happened to be right. So, that's why I always keep my ears open, because you never know who can be leading you the right way, So basically, I grew up playing in Miami Lakes and in Liberty City back and forth at Northwest Boys Club, Quint Cherry, and Miami Lakes Optimist, and that's pretty much is the gist of it.
All right. So I have a quick question for you. You played for one of the most colorful
Kind of going out. You said colorful personality. I can't. It just went out. Can you hear me? I can't. Still can't hear. If you can hear me, what I can do, I can watch the show so I can hear what you're saying. Maybe I can watch the show on another screen. I don't know.
Can you hear me now, Tyriek?
Yeah, great. I was gonna turn it on, but
yeah. So I just unplugged my mics, but I can hear you. All right, because I got my speaker going. It's unfortunate. Yeah, I've been having issues with the microphone and StreamYard, but as long as we can't hear you, but you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. Okay. All right, so it is working. I guess I got fixed. It got fixed. I'm on my camera mic, so hopefully that stays put. All right, as well. Yeah. So one of the things I want to ask you is one of the most colorful personalities was Houston Nutt. Houston Nutt, and Houston Nutt is a very colorful coach. I've heard him several times here on local radio with Channing Crowder and W560 QAM. So I want to know, what was it like playing for him? All right, and is he the same guy, like colorful, funny, or is he more hard nosed?
No, I mean, he was stern, but he wasn't hard nosed. And I honestly feel like I mean, I wasn't that responsible because I was a freshman, but I honestly feel like that 2010 and 2011 class kind of wrongfully took advantage of his kindness and got him fired. And even though Hugh Freeze maybe had more success, which I don't even know, that's debatable. I mean, because we went to 2 Cotton Bowls back to back with Houston Nutt, which was unheard of for years at Ole Miss. But and he actually, even though Hugh Freeze had a lot of draft picks, if you look at Dexter McCluster, Brandon Bolden, which is like a 10-year veteran, Michael Orr was a cool guy I met. A lot of Houston Nutt players stayed in the NFL a long time. So he was doing something right. But I remember when I came in there, honestly, I wasn't as used to like the hard-nosed coaching that we get now with the Sabans, this, that, the third. You know, like I said, coming up playing in Liberty City and different things, it was just a different approach. You know, but if Houston Nutt would have never got fired, I think my whole career and life would have turned out totally different because he was more like South Florida. He was more pro South Florida guys. And it seemed like a lot of people at that school at the time weren't used to like kids from like Los Angeles, New Orleans, Miami, as far as like not rude kids or bad kids, but just kids that it was a culture shock both ways because he brought a lot of kids that he was used to dealing with from like Dallas, Texas, Houston. And I think them adapting to like the Dixie and like the, you know, the Mid-South culture, you know, the yes, sir, no, ma'am, or whatever, which I've adapted to now. But when I was growing up in Miami, you know, it's kind of like the Southern New York. People are rude and fast talking. They don't mean anything, but it's kind of like you'll get pushed over if you're not assertive. So I felt like I fit Houston Nutt style a lot better because he would always encourage me a lot. And I actually played one game my true freshman year when I remember the story. It was almost like Rudy or something. Like one coach was like, don't put him in. In Houston, I was one of his guys. He just grabbed me and just threw me out there. And I went down on kickoff or whatever. So I definitely remember that. And I appreciate that because, you know, he was always a great guy to me. You know, I can only speak.
Awesome. Well, thank you for telling us that story. But I do have a question for you now that you brought up, you know, memorable games. What is a memorable game that you remember that you were a big part of that still resonates with you to this very day?
Unfortunately, I can't say being a big part of anything because I once he left, I basically was reduced to special teams or whatever because it was kind of like a thing where Q Freeze kind of just wanted his guys. A few guys from Houston Nutt kind of cracked through, but it was really like a clean house type of thing. I mean, if it was a portal back then, I don't even know if I would have still been there, you know. Even though I loved the school because I actually could have transferred twice, but I would have had to go down or sit out type of thing. So I would have had to go down to D1 AA, which is now FCS, which looking back at it, I'm not saying it was a bad decision to stay because I love Ole Miss, but on the football side of things, it kind of wasn't the most advantageous situation once my coach left, you know, because Hugh Freeze was a good guy, but, you know, he wanted his guys, you know.
Yeah, that happens a lot, and anything, whether it's sports or the business world, people like to have their own people kind of working under them because they understand them and they know how they work and they know the personality of the boss. So yeah, it's unfortunate that happened to you. And again, Coach Nutt is a very respected coach. He's a funny guy. He was very well liked. Okay, and at every single institution that he coached at. But speaking of players, okay, so one of the things that we're doing this week is that we're also going position group by position group, and we're going to be going over linebackers. Okay, so the linebacking core was a bit of a problem, I will say, last year for Miami. It was expected to be a strength of the team, but it was a problem. Kiko was probably playing hurt. All right, he wasn't as aggressive as he was the year before. He didn't play as well. So was Popo as well. He had a nagging injury. He just still played through injuries in general. What can you say about the linebacking core that you're excited about this year, and what kind of improvements you think they'll make? Because I think they'll be much better than they were last year, especially that they're much healthier.
I'm gonna answer that question with a statement / question. You know, kind of being funny, because I've been looking a lot in the chats and the comment sections, and you know, some people just speak. But when did it become a smear campaign on Chase Smith? Because he was a 4-star guy, and it seems like he's running with the ones. He's doing great. And even last year when he played it, he performed well. I think like I'm trying to think, Georgia Tech game, Duke game, it was a couple of other games. But if you go look at the amount of games he's played and the injuries he's had, what makes Chase Smith this spring any different than Elijah Arroyo last year? Because I hear a lot of people like, oh no, if Chase Smith is starting, then we're down and we need to get a portal guy. But we just got a portal guy in Alderman, and he was well, not all ACC, but he was a big performer in the ACC championship in Louisville just 2 years ago. So it's like, I'm not against the portal, but I feel like the problem is more of a cultural thing. And let's see on Saturday what Heatherman is doing, because he said that it's no such thing as your guys are his guys. Maybe that was just coach speak, but speaking of the Hugh Freeze situation, it sounds like I don't really see him saying that he's not impressed with the guys he has. And I did hear on last Saturday's scrimmage that the linebackers improved. I mean, we can't see anything, but we're just getting bits and pieces. But I feel like they're saying that Wesley Bassett needs to, step up, that he's a reliable player, but he's not necessarily a difference maker. I'm hearing them say Popo, like you said, with the nagging injury, which I don't think that's necessarily a ding on you, because anybody can get hurt. But Popo, didn't he catch that interception against Boston College his freshman year? I mean, I know that's one play, but it's like, I feel like even if we bring in guys, we have to get out of the mentality of being so down on our guys. And I think fundamentals, that was on the players maybe, because you learn how to tackle in Pee Wee ball. But like you said with Guidry, I just feel like Guidry, after that Louisville game in 2023, he never recovered from that. He kind of got exposed as far as not having a counter punch,
Yeah, I agree with you. And the way you feel about Chase Smith is the way I feel about Wesley Bassett, and it's the way I felt about Corey Flagg a couple of years ago. I never understood all the fan hate for Corey Flagg. I always thought he was a pretty decent player.
I mean, do we beat Corey Flagg do we beat Clemson without Corey Flagg? I'm sorry.
That's exactly what I said. In general, Corey Flagg is the one that made that key stop against K Club, which was the right call to stop him and win us the game. And I feel the same way about Wesley Bassett. Wesley Bassett was robbed of a safety against Jordan Travis a couple of years ago over at Bill Campbell Stadium, which would have been
Did he get robbed of two safeties?
Huh?
Didn't he get robbed of two safeties?
Robbed of the other. I think it was Kiko. I think it was him and Kiko were robbed of safeties. But I think he had one and Kiko had one, if I'm not mistaken. Anybody in the chat, if you remember, if your memory is like steel trap.
Yeah. It was Kiko in that game, but I'm saying like the same thing happened to Wesley, I think, in a different game. I want to say
Rob Lee. I mean, listen, he's not Lawrence Taylor. I get it. He's not Ray Lewis, but I think he's pretty good. And last year, the same thing when he almost beheaded Fernando Mendoza in that Cal game. He pretty much gave the first down. That was him, and it was a clean hit. I don't care what the Cal fans say. All right, it was a clean hit. He hit him with the shoulder. It was just so violent they thought it was a targeting call. In general. So I like Wesley. I think Wesley's gonna have a really good year. I think he's going to end a lot of the naysayers and their comments on what they're saying. So I think Wesley has a lot of potential. I also think Popo is going to step up too, right, as well. Popo was a ESPN top 100 linebacker in the country, and this is a kid that when he was in high school, he was stopping the run, he was tackling guys in space, and he was covering tight ends. Okay, so he's a very talented player as well, and he's very smart too. I know his dad personally. All right, he's very smart too. So I think he's going to step up. So I really do think that our linebacking core is going to be much, much improved this upcoming season than they were last. If we get a portal guy for experience, okay, fine. But I don't think that it should be enough to bench our guys or replace our guys as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much there with you. And it's like, portal guys also cost money. I know we're sticking to linebackers, but it's like, how's that going to affect the money of the players that are already here that have to be retained? Because Coach Mario made a comment today about tampering. He said that the portal's open 24/7, which I feel like with that whole Dion Colorado thing, not to get too deep into it with the Syracuse, if they're going to pass that through, then they have to get rid of this second portal, which I feel like, I'm fine either way. But just canceling all the spring games, I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe, maybe getting a real spring game could get rid of this second portal so you do know who's on your team at least for 12 months. I don't think any judge would feel like that's too much to ask, saying that, kids can transfer 24/7. It's like, are you really about their education? Are you even really about their forward in their football career? Because how are they going to learn if they're switching, systems every single year? Because you usually get better in the second year of a system, especially at a position like linebacker where you have to line up the lineman in front of you. You have to blitz. If somebody's in the A gap, you have to fix it and make it right and go to the B gap. You'd be surprised how many dudes just panic, like, oh, this is my gap. And I was always a guy like, okay, just fix it. Just go to the next gap. And they like, oh, it's like, but you'll be surprised how many people they get nervous when they're doing something for the first time. Like, because that's one thing I want to speak on as far as the portal. We always speak on guys. We say we want guys for depth to be our twos and our threes. And I think that's crazy because we'll say we don't want a sophomore to play because they're inexperienced. But now they're a junior or a senior and they're still inexperienced because you recruited over them.
Yeah. No, I get you, man. I get you. Listen, we have 9 linebackers on scholarship. I really don't think that I really don't think. Yeah, exactly. All 4 stars and up. I really don't think that we need another guy. I mean, I know that's been talked about just to add some experience and so on because there's not a lot of trust. But then again, listen, man, Aldarius Hayes. I was talking about him yesterday. Aldarius Hayes, guy was built already to go into college football. He was huge, and he was recruited because of his size. That was a big factor. Kellen Wiley, I heard, has been playing really well. Ezekiel Marcelin has been practicing very well as well. I like Chase Smith, or at least when he's been in the game. I like Wesley. I like Bopo as well. So we do have guys. I mean, we do have guys that I do think if you put them in the right position, they can step up. At the end of the day, I do think our front 4 is going to be very key. Regardless, I think our front 4 is going to be very key to the fact that we're going to be our success. So if your front 4 is getting to the quarterback, everything else falls in line on defense. That's just the way I see it. Anybody you're excited to see though from this young freshman class?
Kellen Wiley. I mean, one thing I do, sometimes I do film reviews, and that was one of my best film reviews. If you guys check me out on YouTube, we'll get to that later. But Ty24 Sports, his father was speaking in the comments, and different people speaking on Twitter also on it. Kellen Wiley to me is a Ty24 5-star. He just didn't. I mean Ty24 Sports 5-star. To me, he just didn't go to camps. But if you look at this guy can run like a running back. This guy already knows how to cover. He already knows how to line people up. When you watch that New Orleans game, when they came down here to South Florida, which is hostile territory, he was basically a menace on that field. Him and Gerard Pringle at the running back position. But Kellen Wiley, to me, no disrespect, is more valuable of a catch last year than Gerard Pringle. And if we use him right, even more valuable than who was the kid from like the Lakeland or the Tampa area that Pickett, DJ Pickett. Okay. People might get mad, but look, I actually played the game, and I'm going off of film and what I see with my 2 eyes, not what Andrew Ivins is saying. Kellen Wiley can be a real difference maker, like an old school Miami Jesse Armstrong, Jesse Armstead. I'm not gonna say Ray Lewis, but a real Miami linebacker. He would be one of the first ones that I can really put him in. NFL Pro Bowler type of linebacker. I've seen it. He does everything. He pass rushes. He runs over linemen if they don't get the right leverage because he's the size of the defensive end, but he just can run like a linebacker or a DB. So I feel like Kellen Wiley should play this year. Yeah,
he's pretty fast. I did a story on him, and I mean I saw the speed, I saw the power as well, the tackling ability as well. He finishes his tackles. That's one thing I like about him. He's a guy who will finish his tackles. He won't not just go halfway. He'll run that shoulder right through you, and which is something that was missing. A lot of missed tackles last season from the linebackers was a very big problem.
I don't understand that. Like, what do you think is the cause of that? Like the whole not tackling thing. Like that's been a theme, a step for 2023. That's been a thing for like I don't know how many years. They just don't wrap up.
Yeah, no, because they want the big hit. I mean, that's it's a highlight reel thing with a lot of players. They want the big hit, but I do think that Kiko was hurt last year, and I think that might have impeded him a little bit because he was less aggressive. It felt like this last season than he was in the previous season. When we talked about, that's why he earned the number 1 on his jersey. He earned basically defensive captain because of the way from his accolades the previous season when he was literally the leader on that defense on the linebacker side, and of course Cam was also leading as well as far as the defensive backfield, all right, as well. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see all these guys get into rotation. I really don't think we need another linebacker. If you do, I just hope it's like it's just sort of depth piece in case there's an injury. But we have 9 guys. I mean, we have quite a few guys, on scholarship that, were highly recruited coming out of high school that I think can make a significant difference right from the start.
And speaking of Kellen Wiley, who's a guy for 2026 linebacker that we definitely should make a priority? I don't know if you're familiar with him. They say he's a kind of a Florida lean, but he's been flirting with us lately. Malik Morris from Lakeland. He's a little smaller than Kellen Wiley.
I haven't done my homework on him, but I've heard the name.
What I've seen, I mean, he's smaller than Kellen Wiley. I would put him more in like a. Now he's bigger than Vilma, but he's probably like your prototypical linebacker. Kellen Wiley is on the larger side.
Yeah, Tyriek. Everybody's smaller than Kellen Wiley.
He's the same type of guy as far as because he's not small. He's about 6'1", 225, and he's in high school. So maybe he reaches 6'2" and 240 something. He's a big guy. He looks like an SEC linebacker, but he's fundamentally sound, and that's what I want to see from the linebackers on Saturday. Really, everybody stop chasing after the big play and just make the simple plays. Like I think the biggest thing that has been the issue with Miami making that jump even prior to the Mario era is maybe it's the South Florida and the pressure and everything, but so many of these kids, it's like they want to be Sean Taylor, they want to be Willis McGahee. Just be yourself. You know what I mean? It's like they'll miss a form tackle for a shoulder big hit and get ran over, or they'll drop a ball because they're trying to run before they see it. That's why I'm a big proponent for Kevin Beard for the wide receivers. He got rid of the drop balls as soon as he came. I think fundamentals is the biggest thing that, you know, even at the quarterback situation with our backups, because, you know, Beck is hurt now. He'll be healthy. But I think 5 playoff teams last year had to play a backup quarterback at some point. Even if you don't make the throws that Beck or Cam make, can you just make some throws, just check downs, just do simple things? Like if you played football before, you know, you don't have to be I don't even know. You don't have to be Malachi Tony or Joshua Moore, just speaking from an athletic standpoint. X ran a 4.7 or 4.8, but he's still X. And part of it was because he did the little things. That's every position. That's not just wide receiver. Like, you might be a slower guy, but you can wrap up. You know, if he runs you over, gang tackle, your teammates are there about, you know what I mean? But you just have to be fundamentally sound.
Yeah, and also know your assignment and don't go and don't freelance. That's another big thing too. Like another thing, going back to Kellen Wiley, he hits his gaps. All right, he has gap integrity. When I saw the film, he has gap integrity and he makes his tackles. That's why I think he ended up being a Cane, because of the main reason why he's coachable. He's very coachable. He wants to learn, and he's fundamentally sound. So I think that's very important for Kellen. The reason why I said no one is as big as Kellen Wiley is because he's 6'4".
Yeah, okay, I know.
That's a very
Darius Hayes.
Okay. Yeah, George, I actually discussed it yesterday with Hoodie Girl and my cousin. We want to talk about we need to get tackling down first and then work on turnovers. Yeah. I do think, George, however, we will get more turnovers this year. Like I said, I do think this year will be more fundamentally sound. The defense, from what we heard, is a lot more simplified as well. And I think having a guy like Corey Heatherman, who's a teacher first and understands his players individually, can differentiate what player could do as far as strengths and weaknesses and diversifies tasks on assignments. I do think this team will have more turnovers this year. Also, not only that, I think our defensive backfield is much improved through recruiting and also through the transfer portal. So Brantley, Lucas, Frederic, they're all ball hawks. Okay, they're gonna get theirs, and I do think Miami will operate a lot more from a short field this year than they did last year, where Cam was basically working from the 20 to the 20. I think you will see some more situations where we get a turnover closer to our end of the end zone and we can get touchdowns. Very good, George. George, in about 5 minutes, man, if you want to hop on and give your takes, we'll love to hear them in person, all right? Now, before we let the audience in, you and I were talking right before the show. All right, yesterday I did a short where I threw some shade at Shady, no pun intended, Shady McCoy, for his comments in reference to Cam Ward, and basically saying that he's never seen a 0-star recruit be successful in the NFL. I think that's hogwash. We've had guys that are great in college football and they tank in the NFL. So going by accolades in high school and thinking they're not going to transfer into the National Football League, I think is saying a lot. So Tyriek, you played the game, man. What do you think?
I'm a Shady guy, but I think he's trolling. I think this all goes back to, you make decisions. This is why I stayed at Ole Miss, because I know I didn't want to leave. I think, he was originally a Hurricane. He decided to decommit after he went to prep school, from what I understand. Or maybe he was a guy that they took his scholarship, and maybe he's prideful and didn't want to say that because they had Greg Cooper. I'm not sure. I know he was originally in that class with Greg Cooper. It was supposed to be 2 5-star running backs. But long story short, he's even been on I think the Pivot podcast or the I Am Athlete, where he was telling DJ Williams, which was a 5-star guy, he was telling him how he would never be able to tackle him, and he was better than every running back that ever came out of the U. I mean, don't we have like 3 gold jackets and probably more to come? I mean, you talk about Clinton Portis, You talking about Frank Gore, Edgerrin James. Shady, maybe you could say you're better than Edgerrin James. So he's consistently taking shots at Miami. So, some guys, if they can't join them, they want to beat them. And since he can't beat them, because I think Miami played Pittsburgh and they beat Shady to death. So I think he has a bone to pick with a university because he left. That'll be like me leaving Ole Miss and then I hate the Rebels. It's like, you have to live with the decisions you made. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I mean, if he's trolling, it's a really bad troll in my opinion because it makes him look foolish. Because everyone who studied Cam Ward and knows Cam Ward, he played a wing tee in high school, which is an ancient offense in today's high school and college football and all together. So that's why he unfortunately he didn't get the accolades that he deserved. Incarnate Ward broke records there. Yep. Okay, broke records there. Washington State balled out there, especially and with a weak offensive line. Comes to Miami, and no one can dispute that he had the greatest season of any single season quarterback in the history of the Miami Hurricanes. And that's a school. Jim Kelly, Hall of Famer. Okay, Bernie Kosar as well. All right, Bernie Kosar as well. Gino Torretta, Heisman Trophy winner. Vinny Testaverde, Heisman Trophy winner. Ken Dorsey, national champion, played on the greatest football team of all time, and he had a better season than all of them. All right.
Heisman finalist. Yeah.
And a Heisman finalist as well. I think if it wasn't for Travis Hunter, I think he should have won personally. If Travis Hunter had been there, I know he finished like third or fourth. But I mean, he was literally Miami. Okay, he was 3 wins better for Miami, and that's without a shadow of a doubt. He literally won 3 to 4 games for the Miami Hurricanes, basically putting the team on his back. Cam Ward is a stud, man, and the reason why I think he's going to be successful if you surround him with the right guys. He's very smart. He's very motivated, and he's a good leader as well. And he can make any throw, and he can scramble out of the pocket as well, and he can run for a first down. I think he's the total package personally.
I mean, he's a leader of men. I mean, we didn't find out until recently. The guy that he called when they were throwing with an NFL quarterback up in Broward, and he said, "If you're not down here throwing with me, you're gonna get the ball in the fall." That was Restrepo. And I don't blame him now because it worked out for both of them. I mean, a lot of people are saying that the Titans, if people don't, which I don't know if it's going to work out that way because a lot of NFL teams are being hip to that, like how Burrow got his guys, and it's a couple of rookie quarterbacks that did well that they got guys that played with them or guys they like. They're saying that come 3rd or 4th, 5th round, if Restrepo's sitting around and Cam has to call, like, what do you want? He's going to get his guy. So they saying that Restrepo and even possibly Martinez may end up in Tennessee with Cam Ward. So, that's the one thing I didn't question, but I wanted to see from Carson Beck, but that's been answered because I know what it feels like to be in spring and when people have injuries and they'll sit out of practice. But for him to be doing what he can, handoffs, laying on his back, throwing the ball. I mean, I'm sure Mario's a little different, but still, he's $1 million quarterback. Beck, if he wasn't really into it, he didn't have to take his whole O-line and the skill guys to prime 112 and all these things. So I do see maybe he's a different leader from Cam Ward, but he's a leader, which I guess he had to be up there with that, the NASCAR boys up at UGA that like to, drive fast or whatever. It's just, I guess nobody can lead them because they're still getting in trouble when Beck's gone. But I think Beck will do well, and he's still a Florida kid. I know it's Jacksonville, but, hopefully, he'll continue this quarterback tradition at U because when I was a kid, it was known as quarterback U. I mean, you mentioned all those quarterbacks, that's kind of faded away, but maybe we can continue that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now opening the floor for audience participation. If any of you out there want to jump in and talk a little Canes and speak with me and Ty, or ask any questions or give us any comments, feel free to hit that link, the StreamYard link, and pop you on. Just remember, just keep it clean. I do think though that if he's available, I think Tennessee should draft Restrepo because that's a guy that Cam could work with. Has worked with Cam before. And he knows that if he's ever in trouble, he's got a security blanket he could dump the ball off to and possibly get him first downs and so on. I don't buy the whole 4-7 thing. Restrepo said he had a nagging hamstring was bothering him that day. So I kind of suspect in reference to the 4-7. But we'll see, man. Regardless, the kid runs amazing routes. He's very dependable. He's got very good hands, and he manages to get open all the time. So that's what I think. That's the thing with Restrepo. So I do think if he's available, I do think Tennessee should draft him.
as a Dolphin fan, doesn't he kind of remind you of a guy that used to kill the Dolphins from the Jets? Wayne Corbett. You remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. Wayne Corbett had like a great career. So
yeah, he did, and so did Wes Walker. He killed the Dolphins thanks to Nick Saban.
yeah. Yeah. But
Nick
I feel like X, not to cut you off, I wouldn't say he's a deep threat, but he kind of has longer, I guess, like gains than Wes Welker. Wes Welker with 12 yards you to death, but I've seen X take it 40 yards a couple of times.
No, me too. I've actually seen X burn 5 stars in coverage. Like I remember when Miami got blown out by Alabama when they played the opening season. I think it was a neutral field in Dallas. I don't remember.
Go route.
Yeah, he beat him on a go route, and that was a 4 or 5 star corner, and he beat him, single coverage. So I do think that he's got it, man. He's got something. Look, Jerry Rice ran a 4.6, okay, and no one could cover that man. No one could cover that man. So I do think that that he has capabilities as well. I don't want to compare X to Jerry Rice. I'm just saying in terms, if you're gonna go by 40 yard times in general, I do think X is I think you compare that to X. Guys, if you want to hop on, feel free to hop on. All right, it is a fan day Q&A, so please hit that StreamYard link located in the bottom of the comment section as well, or you can also find out you can also find it on X as well. This is my friend. All right, George, feel free to pop on. You can ask on the show. George. Come on. Hey guys, what are your views on how special teams will take form? I hopefully they're better. We don't know the new kicker, very much so. Borregales is going into the NFL, but I do think we might see Malachi Toney returning kicks this year for Miami. He's a lot shiftier than Chris Johnson. So I do think Miami's kicking game. I do expect them to get better, right, as the season goes along. What's your take on it?
Well, Malachi Toney, I'm not sure if he's his father or not, but I think he trained with a guy, Antonio Brown, not that Antonio Brown, but a different one that went from Miami Central to West Virginia, and he played it for the Washington Redskins and the Buffalo Bills back in the day. I'm not sure if that's his dad or not, whatever, because I see a lot of pictures with him when he was little. But Antonio Brown, legends say he went to some kind of workout and raced Devin Hester, and that's how he ended up getting in the league. But if that's his dad, that dude was a Pro Bowl returner, regardless of what. I worked out with Antonio Brown. They call him Daylock, whatever. Not Antonio, not AB from the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the guy that played for Washington and Buffalo, but he's from Miami. That guy, I'm almost sure that that's Malachi Toney's dad. But even if he's not, I know he trained Malachi from a little kid. If he has anything from him, we don't have anything to worry about in the return game because that guy's a problem. Like I remember doing a workout with him, and that was harder than any mat drills I ever did in college. Like you don't have anything to worry about with Malachi Toney. Like when I found out they had a connection, it made sense because I was like, Malachi Toney is like, you don't understand why he's doing so well, because when you watch him on film, that's one where his film looks good, but the way they say he is, and even when you see him in person, he's one of those guys where it can sneak up on you. Like you don't really realize how fast he is, how shifty he is until it's too late, which that's the most deadliest type of person because he's smooth, with his cuts and just everything, like you could tell he's been trained by professionals.
Yeah, he had a great catch against Chaminade where the DB was draped all over him, and he caught it in the end zone for a touchdown. Diabel threw him a beautiful ball, and he caught it. So, yeah. And the thing about Malachi, he's also a phenomenal athlete. You can put him at quarterback if you wanted to, and he can make all the throws. When Diabel got hurt, he was the backup quarterback. So, he's a very, very, very talented football player.
They should use that in like a wildcat or something, just, maybe week 7 or something when people aren't prepared for it. Put him back there, maybe he throws it. Maybe it's a reverse. You never know. Just something else for teams to have to, prepare for.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that that might be the best bet to use him as a wildcat if he wants to. He wants. I know Curry Brown wanted to use him in a wildcat set, and he said no. He don't want to be a gimmicky quarterback. So we'll see. So we'll see if Malachi's okay with it. I know he doesn't like playing quarterback. That's one thing I did hear. That he doesn't like playing the position. He'd rather be a wide receiver 100% of the time. He doesn't like playing. But he was good at QB. He made some very good throws. Right, as well. Speaking of Malachi, now that we're bringing him up, and I'm just waiting for guys. If you want to hop on, right, the link is down there on the stream on YouTube. Just hit that StreamYard link, or you can go on X, and you could also hit the link on X and on my handle, and you could jump on the show and ask us whatever questions you would like. All right. So, anyways, going back to Malachi Tony, Ray Joseph is somebody that a lot of fans are wondering about. I think one of the main reasons why he couldn't get on the field is because X was that dude. He's under a microscope this year by fans in particular, and also the media, because they want to see what he could do. I've heard some good things about him in practice. How do you think that competition between him and Malachi is going to play out?
He was going to be good regardless, but now they're lighting a fire under Ray. I don't think it's going to be a new X. I think it's just going to be a two-headed monster. I think you play both of them. I mean, like I said, why make it easier on defensive coordinators when you can make it harder? You know, I think some of his confidence took a shot maybe, but when you're going to take out X, you get what I'm saying? Like a lot of people saying, what has he done? When did he get an opportunity? Because I could go check the stats, but I remember the Temple game his freshman year, and that was Emory Williams, who they say doesn't throw it down the field. He threw a long arm touchdown to Ray. Ray hasn't like just wowed all the time, but like in spring games, his first spring game, he scored a deep one. He scored one with Cam, I think, on a crossing route last year. It's just he hasn't had a lot of opportunities, but it doesn't mean he hasn't performed well. And that's what I'm saying when they say guys aren't experienced. What have you done with what you've been given? You know what I mean? So I feel like Ray would have been good, but he's probably going to be great because he has Malachi breathing down his neck. And then they also, I don't know if they're going to keep Nakar in a Upshaw 100% on the outside, because those are guys that can go on the outside or the inside, maybe 4 wide receiver sets, because Nakar gives me Sonoris Moss vibes, like that reverse. Remember the 2006 Florida State game where we thought we were going to lose, and Sonoris Moss took that long reverse. I could see Nakar doing something like that based off his high school tape. Like he's a guy bubble screen or reverse, and a simple play call, maybe a drag route, and he's gone. Yeah,
so, no, that was spectacular in high school. And we flipped it from Georgia, by the way. He was a flip from Georgia. So that's a good thing, too. All right. Coming on the show, right, is he's finally accepted the challenge, and that is my buddy George Bobondier, but you may know him as Teacher's Craft. What's up, George? How's it going? Welcome to 305 Sports Now.
Hey, Will, how you doing? Hey, guys, thank you very much for having me.
It's like a faculty meeting. Right now.
Yeah. With itty bitty little squares on the screen.
Yes. It's like a faculty meeting. How you doing, George? How's everything going?
Good. Thanks. Just listening in on you guys, man. I learn a lot every single show, especially and stuff, because I catch up on some stuff. Even makes me think about some stuff. I put in that question with special teams because, I mean, just from what I've been following over the past couple of seasons and stuff, I mean, I really feel, especially after last season, Cam Ward just moving on, that special teams and field position is really going to be important, especially coming in now, at least for the first part of the season, until everything starts turning over as the season progresses. But it's probably, for me, for what I see, it's probably going to be a slow game at first, a field position, special teams, and then until the offense starts getting going. But I'm more of a grinded out type of guy. I mean, I love the old style football style stuff. So this seems to be like UM's going to be moving in that direction, at least for a little while, until that big play capability starts exploding. So, I mean, who knows when it's going to happen? It could be early in the season or later in the season, but I think we're going to start seeing a little bit of a slow development now, since we got into those players coming in and stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's field position and conservativeness until everybody starts feeling comfortable in their role.
Right. Ty, you got anything to say about that?
I mean, I pretty much agree with you. I'm interested to see how. I mean, we won't really see it on Saturday, but how the special teams like coverage is, as far as like the punt team, like going down covering the punts or whatever. Because in the kicking game, we've been excellent over the last couple of years, punting and kicking. I just we haven't had the best as far as return guys, because remember we used to have the issue with the drops with the returns, like when Jacoby George is back there, and then they kind of settled with X, and then they had Ray, which a lot of people asked what Ray didn't do. He didn't drop any punts, but we do want to get some yards instead of losing yards or just fair catching it. So I just feel like the return game is one issue, but also let's make sure we're getting better at coverage, because the old Hurricanes would go get block punts, or they would go knock somebody out and get a fumble on a kickoff, and that's 7 points. So let's get some turnovers, not only on defense but on special teams. Us in Virginia Tech for a long time were the best special teams in the country for years.
before George continue on, if anybody wants to join, okay, remember the StreamYard link is located in the comments section on YouTube. The description section on YouTube, and it's also can be found as well on X, okay, on my X account, William Padron at 305 Sports now, okay. So yeah, I totally agree. I do think that we need to get back to special teams. Special teams was a little bit of a problem, but Andy covered up a lot in terms of special teams because he was such an effective kicker. So we'll see how that goes. The kicker, I can't remember his name, but the kicker this year I heard is actually pretty good as well. I think we picked up with the portal, if I'm not mistaken, and we're excited. I'm excited to see how that goes along as well. George, anything else you want to ask?
Yeah, just one more thing. I was just about with defense, and now that basically you're just reconstructing the defense. To me, I've always associated defense with domination, offense with big play, and defense with domination. And I think it'll come a long way if Cristobal can take this team back to where the defense, and especially on the ends and pass rush, can really be a big factor in keeping teams back. One of the big things with that is also, this is why I mentioned field position with special teams. If special teams and defense can really hold their own, I think the offense can take the luxury of developing along until they finally hit their stride towards midseason and maybe even into the postseason. So I'm going to be watching out for that in particular right now at the beginning to see how special teams and defense comes together. And if I see a pretty decent, defensive performance and stuff, especially, as they start developing the pass rush, I think it's something to feel good about. Because, like I said, I can give the offense a little bit of time, and that's usually the case, and even at the pro level. But once defense comes along, it's just a matter of time before the offense kicks in, and that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And George, thank you so much for joining us. It was nice having you on. All right, thank you so much for your participation in the show. And my friend, I will see you tomorrow in the elevator.
You got it. You got it, Will. Thank you very much, and nice talking with you guys.
Yeah, have a good night, man. Thank you for coming on, George. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into defensive backs, I want to go over with Tyriek a little bit about the defensive backs since he played the position over at Ole Miss. Remember, guys, just hit that StreamYard link in the description section, and you could also be on 305 Sports now and have a conversation with me and also Tyriek as well of Tide 24 Sports. All right, Ty, since you are a defensive back, I was actually going to speak about it with Flo tomorrow, but since you are a DB, you're former DB in college. How do you see our defensive backfield this year?
We went from having an empty refrigerator to now we're giving away food. I'm just hoping we don't show too much on Saturday and anybody, gets any kind of like bright ideas to, hey man, you just rotating at Miami, come start over here. Like, I hope these guys, because we have 4 sophomores at cornerback. Think about it. You got because Damari Brown, I'm not counting him because I think he's a nickel or a safety now, which I think they should move. They should have him in like a Charles Woodson type of role, like he plays safety, nickel.
Yeah,
like,
I agree with you.
Foul last year, depending on personnel. But our actual corners, and that's not counting Ewald and Jabari Antoine. You're looking at OJ, sophomore. You're looking at Lucas, sophomore. Those are the 2 starters. And then you have the guys that came in to start, Emmanuel Cornley and Ethan O'Connor. These are top shelf guys. And then, I just mentioned the 2 freshmen behind them. So I think we've vastly improved in the defensive backfield now as far as safety. What I played safety and nickel. Some people have had mixed feelings about Brantley. I think Brantley should be used in matchups. When you have a small slot like a Restrepo, you got to have a guy like Brantley. But when you have a bigger guy, some people put tight ends or bigger wide receivers in the slot. That's when you go with your Damari Brown. And I wouldn't even be against Cody. I was about to say Cody Pruitt. That's the guy I played with. Cam Pruitt playing with some certain tight ends because he's a linebacker that can stay in on passing situations, and maybe even Chase Smith when you have that long speed. So we have a lot of different things to work with, but I have heard that they're thinking about a portal guy at safety. The only thing is, I don't know if nobody would want to come in to fight for a position as a backup because Poise is going to start, and then between Patterson and Dylan Day, do you go get a guy to start over Patterson or Dylan Day?
No.
Yeah,
no, absolutely not. Patterson's a stud, and Dylan Day is is an up-and-comer. And let's not forget Ryan Mack either. Ryan Mack is gonna be a baller as well. So yeah, I think the defensive backfield that was a problem is not gonna be a problem this year. I think it's actually gonna be a strength. And I'm high on Brantley, or I'm very high on Brantley. I like from the film I saw. I like what I saw in Michigan State. So I do think Miami's defensive backfield will be very, very much more improved this year than it was last year. And I do think they'll be put in the right positions. I think last year Mish Powell was in the wrong position. He should have been a nickel corner versus that.
Because he caught 5 interceptions, and they say he was a horrible pick. But he took 2 interceptions to the end zone. So I just feel like he was out of place, and he was making the best out of a situation because we never got him to be a speed demon. We got him to do what he does best.
Yeah. Mish played well against Florida. I would say he played well, but that they had all year to plan. So he played very well when he played nickel against Wake Forest. That's when he took that ball. I think it was 85 to 90 yards. I was at that game as well. He played very well against Duke because Duke was just done. Towards the end of the game, he played very well against Duke, but I do think that Mish should have been playing nickel the whole time. I know they had injuries as well, so I can't fully just blame Guidry stuff like that on that one. They had some injuries in the defensive backfield, but I felt the whole season he was out of position. I think they were better off putting Markeith Williams. I know he was a smaller guy, but I think Markeith should have played better with Zaquan Patterson out in the backfield and defensive backfield, and you keep Mish at the nickel, and I think it would have been much better. My problem with Mish, he got caught ball. I think he got caught ball watching quite a few times. And he would miss his man in the end zone. So especially in the Virginia Tech game, that was just atrocious.
Yeah. I mean, but when you know a guy has a speed deficiency, you kind of don't put him in position to get burnt. You know what I mean? Yeah. You kind of gotta help your guys out a little bit,
Yeah.
And it seemed like he was the only one that knew where to line up, and he's lining other guys up. And that went on actually 2 years in a row, because people don't remember. Cam Kitchens and James Williams actually took a step back because they had a problem lining people up the year prior. So this has been a recurring theme. I don't know if it was Guidry. I don't know if it was too complicated for some guys to get it. I don't know if it was the cornerback room, but we'll see, because there's been a lot of changes at the coaching side and personnel side.
Yeah. Well, Ty, the thing is that Mauro Cristobal's first year, I think under Jamila Dye, even though the defense wasn't that good, it was a team also in rebuilding mode. I never felt they were in a bad position, like they were out of place. They just got burned. That's pretty much what I thought Kevin Steele's first year defense was. The second year with Guidry, you basically had 2 coaches on the field with James Williams and Cam Kitchens. Like, Cam knew what to do, even though he make mistakes or take a couple bad angles, but Cam was a solidified NFL player in the backfield. This year, you really didn't have that. You had a true freshman and Zaquan Patterson. I think Mish was out of position. And I think that's pretty much the case. I think Mish should have been nickel the entire time, where I think it was his strong suit. And we saw that towards the end of the year. Even in the Syracuse game, he almost got to the ball a few times against Kyle McCord. So that's what I don't think we're going to see that this year. I think everybody this year, I'm just speculating, obviously, because I'm going by optimism here, but I do think everybody is going to know their role, and you're not going to see the miscommunication on defense, in particular with the defensive backfield, like you saw last year.
Yeah. And not to dump on guys, it's just you had, like you said, you had a freshman back there, and you had Jaden Harris back there. Because even with Jaden Harris, Georgia got him for a reason. It is what it is, but I feel like he's one of those guys. You could be smart in the classroom, but if we put you on a football field and we make you do too much, you freeze up. It's not muscle memory. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because from what I saw in the flow interviews, Jaden Harris was a pretty bright kid, but it seemed like with him and the freshman Patterson, I guess they had to be the guys that weren't lining up, because OJ did his job. Porter kind of regressed, but I just feel like Mish, like you said, should have stayed at nickel. And I feel like Jaden Harris, he's gone now. And I guess they maybe they could do something with him. I wish him the best. I don't dump on kids when they transfer,
No, neither do I.
Once it came, always it came. But I just feel like it's nothing you could have done by Jaden Harris unless you just ran a simpler defense, which it seemed like Guidry. A lot of coaches, which I don't understand that, because they have coaching clinics. I was just looking at one the other day because, maybe one day I'll coach. I'll just think about it. But even if you run this scheme, you would think that if this doesn't work, okay, we're going to try something different. You know what I mean? I just didn't understand that method. And I've seen a lot of kids run into a lack of success, and then they'll go somewhere else and they're all of a sudden they're successful. And it's like, why didn't you try to adapt to what you have at least for this year until you get your guys? But it seemed like Guidry can only make that defense work when he has the right pieces. Versus it seems like Heatherman is more of a simplified defense that anybody can play in. You know, Big Ten is kind of like based on size, height, speed. It's not really based on schematics, you know, necessarily. You know, it's more smash mouth football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. But also, great coaches know how to adjust to the personnel.
Yeah, it's like being a teacher. I mean, if a kid doesn't understand this way, you teach them a different way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I always go back to Don Shula. I do think Don Shula, as far as defenses goes, towards the end of his career, was a little behind the times. He had a much slower, but bigger, but a slower defense. But I have to hand it to him on offense. This is a guy that had 2,000-yard backs, and then he went from that to Marino, and you know, and they broke all kinds of records together.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I do think that great coaches don't survive it. I do think Corey Heatherman has a reputation for being a great coach, so I do think this team will be better.
And speaking of adapting to your players, I know they're not on our schedule, but I want a lot of fans to watch, because I'm interested to see if the Patriot way translates to the Tar Heel way. What is Belichick going to do? Because, you know, that's what he built his career off of.
Yeah.
You know, you give me lemon and I'll make lemonade. You know, a lot of guys like a Restrepo, if Belichick was in the league now, no question they're going to have a roster spot. You know, he's taking guys with off-the-field issues, guys that didn't fit this system, didn't fit that system. If all you can do is run a 10-yard in or slant route, we're going to run it until they stop it, you know. So I think some coaches don't take notes from the greats, because Belichick just made you do whatever you did good, you know, or whatever you were great at. He didn't try to make you Randy Moss if you were Wes Welker.
Yeah. I think North Carolina's defense will be vastly improved. He knows how to adapt to his personnel on defense. Even the year that they were bad, the defense was still pretty good for Coach Belichick. But I still believe that let's see. Thank you, sir. If you want to hop on, you can hop on. Okay. I'd still think that it was a Brady thing. I think that Brady, so he can win without Brady. We'll see.
I mean, he didn't win a Super Bowl without Brady as a head coach, but he's won 2 Super Bowls as an assistant. He did well with Matt Castle. You know, they went 11-5. They even went to the playoffs with Mac Jones as a rookie. I just think, you know, he kind of like self-destruct. I think his ego, even with the Malcolm Butler thing with the Eagles Super Bowl, the first time they won, I feel like when you win so much, after a while, it's like the Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson thing. You want to prove that you can do it your way, but I don't think you can just say it was only Brady, because if that was the case, Brady would have had more success at Michigan, or Brady. I mean, Brady only threw for like 100 and something yards that first Super Bowl against the Rams. I mean, he really was a game manager at first.
Brady had Drew Henson in front of him, and that was the darling of Michigan at the time. So yeah,
but I'm saying he started and he played well. He beat Alabama in the Sugar Bowl in Miami, so he did good.
He did.
But what I'm saying is, Brady wasn't some superior athlete. I feel like Brady learned to play the game the right way, to kind of like the Shedeur Sanders thing. Like, because I like Cam better, but Shedeur Sanders actually trained with Brady, and he's not a superior athlete. And yeah, he kind of has like a little ego, but you can't deny what he did with a 1-11 the Colorado team. That was Shedeur and Travis Hunter in a few pieces. Shedeur knows how to check the ball down, not turn it over. Cam too, but he knows how to. You can play quarterback and not be great, but not mess up. You know what I mean? That's why it's called a game manager. And Brady was the ultimate game manager until, I'll say, his second half of his career, like 2014 on. That's when he became like a prolific passer, because he had played so much ball, he knew every defense. But at first, he was just checking the ball down. So, you know, if you win 24-17, that has to be a defense doing that. You know,
I think it feels like Brady played for 30 years, but I think it was a little before 2014 that we saw Tom Brady become Tom Brady, you know, and so
on. Well, no, okay, you can say 2007, but a lot of people put that on Randy Moss. But
but he threw him the ball. It's like didn't Randy have like what 30 touch, like 25 touchdowns,
like 24, 20, or 21 something.
He had a monster, and Wes Welker had a monster. Basically, when you surrounded him with a lot of pieces, and we saw Tom Brady. I'm a Dolphin fan defending Tom Brady. You know,
and they were running the ball a lot back then too. Corey Dillon, Antoine Smith, and it's not taking nothing away from Tom. I just feel like Tom took time to learn. Is what I'm saying. Like he wasn't.
I get you. Like every quarterback. Like no. He wasn't. He He adjusted. It was a good defense. But I'm saying,
it's
though,
not like he has an Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre arm. That's not why he won. He won because of his brain. But
no, definitely, absolutely.
rookie,
Like Montana,
you know?
if you ask Montana, Montana will tell you that the better quarterback was Marino, but Montana was very smart, and he had a lot of good pieces around him, and he had a very good defense as well, and a good running game. That's why he was able to win 4 Super Bowls for the 49ers. But he'll tell you that the best quarterback was Marino. Like he'll humbly say that. What I'm trying to say, as far as like the Brady thing goes, another thing too about Bill Belichick, he had this weird mentality of like, if you're a coach, you're a coach, and he put Matt Patricia calling offensive plays. That was just a disaster. That was just an absolute disaster, and I think that's what you really saw his downfall.
Well, nobody's perfect, and I feel like that's more of an ego thing. I think that was more of an ego trip, like kind of like because I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm a Dolphin fan first, but I'm a Cowboys fan too. But Jerry Jones. If you look at the Cowboys, I was watching on NFL Network. I forgot the name of the show. I think it's called Finding Giants, and they were saying that the New York Giants and the NFL in general didn't really have a system set up for scouting prior to the Dallas Cowboys coming up with some kind of system. I forgot what it's called, like Southeast something. But basically, if you look at the Dallas Cowboys, even with late round picks, they are great at finding talent because Jerry Jones is a former national championship player, not just a owner. He played ball, but talent doesn't necessarily translate to discipline, doing your job. And, Dallas is very notoriously undisciplined in the Jerry Jones era. That's why we haven't won since 95. So I say that to say this. The same way he won 3 Super Bowls, so now he wants to prove he can do it his way. I think Belichick won so many Super Bowls. He wants to, like you said, put Matt Patricia at offense when he's a defensive guy. Put a wide receiver at cornerback. Put a running back at line. He wants to just do anything. And it's like when so long you've been successful, like Cam Ward, prime example. Cam Ward would turn the ball over because he knows he's that good that they can't stop me. Like we've seen every now and then Cam Ward just holding the ball 20 minutes. He's laughing. He's just holding the ball because he feels like he's superior. And I feel like sometimes in life, when you're so good at something, you think the rules don't apply to you. And I think that's what it is. But I feel like if Belichick humbles himself, he's still the greatest coach of all time.
Okay.
I just think even he has limits.
Yeah. I mean, I would consider him the greatest because of the whole cheating scandals and stuff like that, but yeah, there we go. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say too much, but I'm gonna just say you'll be surprised.
Yeah. Listen. The greatest story I ever heard was a player grabbed the opponent's playbook and gave it to Coach Shula, and he said, return that back. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, man. He never did that. So
I'm not for cheating, but I will say this. If one school is paying players, one school is stealing plays, one school is using their conference to make them get more positions in the playoff, even though I played in that conference, the SEC hasn't won a playoff, semifinal game, I'll say, in 2 years. They didn't go to the national championship. Last 2 years, SEC hasn't even. So is that cheating? So we kind of living in a time with no rules. So I get what you're saying, but based on what's going on now, it's a lot of cheating going on. It's kind of like who does the cheating?
Yeah. But recording practices.
Yeah.
That was insane. Now, I'm just saying, that was insane. Yeah. No, but listen, we agree on the defensive side of things. I think Bill Belichick is a hell of a defensive coach, and he adjusts his personnel. And that being said, is agree. But I do think that having a Hall of Fame quarterback, no coach having a Hall of Fame quarterback helped him out as well. And he really didn't. Aside from the 1 year with Matt Castle, and Mac Jones had a little bit of showed some promise. He really. He's really happy with him, but we'll see what he does in North Carolina. It's a different ball game when you have to when you're recruiting kids, and so on. And some of these kids these days,
Let's hope he doesn't do too well though.
No, definitely not. I hope not. Really quick before I let you go, do you think though that's just a stepping stone for his son to take over? That's the rumor.
Yeah. I think he's a head coach and waiting type of thing. Because from what I understand, his son is an X and O's guy, but I don't know if he's much of a people person, which Belichick wasn't either, but he came from the 80s and Parcells. That was a different time where you can kind of curse guys out. I think now you're gonna see the new 21st century coach is gonna have to be they're gonna kind of be more of a I guess more smooth. That's the best way I can describe it. You got to be a teacher, a recruiter. You got to know how to, talk guys out of entering the portal. It's just a lot that comes with coaching, and I think the cream is going to rise to the top And I think it's going to take nepotism for his son to succeed because the guy knows football. But like speaking of the Malcolm Butler situation, they say that Malcolm Butler didn't play in that Super Bowl because it was I guess some kind of misunderstanding with Belichick's son and Malcolm Butler, and you know, they lost the Super Bowl because of his son. You know,
yeah.
So I don't know. He kind of has to work on his people skills, but I don't know if his dad is the best person to teach that to him because Belichick doesn't really have people skills, as you see from the press conferences.
Yeah, I think he's mellowed out though. He was pretty funny in the Tom Brady roast. I got to give him a little bit of credit.
Yeah, a 24-year-old girlfriend to do it, right?
Yeah, yeah, they'll definitely keep you young. That's for sure. That's for sure. Ty, man, it was so much fun having you on, man. You're welcome anytime here on 305 Sports now. But let the internet world. What's wrong with me today, man? I had a long day at work. All right,
we live, man. We live.
Can find you.
Right down at the bottom. Ty24 Sports on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Yeah, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. So I'm on 4 platforms. Ty24 Sports. I actually took a hiatus, so I guess this will be my 2025 debut. So I'll be posting probably videos, giving my opinions on NFL draft coming up, college football with this portal. I think the portal opens up next Wednesday or next Monday. So it's a lot going on. I'll probably give my opinion of the spring game. I'm not sure. Is the spring game going to be on ACC Network or is it not televised?
I honestly don't know. I'll be frank. If anything, I last year I went to the game last year, but last year I watched it on YouTube. And I believe it was ACC Network, and it was sponsored by ESPN. So that's how I think it's going to be. So it'll probably be ACC Network. I mean, I honestly don't know. Either way, you'll find it on YouTube the following day, probably.
Guys, just follow me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Ty24 Sports. I interact. Hopefully you guys, like the content. I'm going to be pumping out videos as much as I can. Thank you again for having me on your show, Will.
It was a pleasure. Again, you're welcome anytime you want, Ty. Ladies and gentlemen, subscribe. His hiatus is almost over. All right, subscribe at TY24 Sports on YouTube and follow him on all the handles that he's on, TikTok, Instagram, and also X. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful night. And don't forget to subscribe to this show. If you like what you saw today, okay, do not forget to subscribe to this show, like and share as well. And tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, we're back here once again at 9 p.m., okay, with Flo of the Miami Flow Network, Lex of the Miami Mayhem Network, and my boy Q from the I Hate Football podcast as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful night. Stay safe. God bless. See you soon. Go Games.